Right, welcome to Pass the Mic. It is Friday, July 11th, 2025, episode 168. We are on Zoom. Michael Gervasi, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good. Let me be the first to congratulate you on your marriage for
Thank
people who
you.
are listening today, but you aren't married yet. We're
Not married
recording
yet.
on,
I will be married tomorrow. We're recording on July 9th. I'll be married July 10th.
yes, thanks to the modern technology, I can be the first to congratulate you in present terms for our listeners at 12:01 Eastern Standard Time. As
Much
long as I,
appreciated. Thank you.
as long as the one week I didn't even mention in the errors a few weeks back, we did a late recording and I got up. I'm like, God, that's weird. I don't see the episode. And I went to the Spotify site where you upload it and I put 12:01 p.m.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and
That
Elizabeth Pate, no
Elizabeth
one
was all over it.
nobody called us out publicly until I just put something on there and called myself out. So
Yeah, I'm
other but
surprised.
speak
Surprised the Ren dog didn't come at me.
I know I'm surprised I didn't have a text. Like I would have woke up to a text. Other errors, not just that one, that was from a few weeks back. We've talked about this before, the old slip ups that we have of pro sports teams. I threw out a Cleveland Indians, I think, when we were talking about the Tigers last week. I think Max's brother caught me on that. I think based upon the text that, so again, they are the Cleveland Guardians, who
Yeah.
are still imploding, by the way, thanks
Yes,
to
they
the
are.
Tigers and other teams. I'm trying to see, but that was my big error last week. So, oh, also a pretty big error, and I'm going to own this one, are overrated, underrated heat waves. So every week I go and sometimes it's before we do the episode, sometimes it's after. We keep a Google sheet and I type all these things. We had done heat waves once before,
Oh, we
actually.
did.
We did. But I think we
Uh-oh.
altered our answers a little bit. And it sprungboard us to the great topic of what are some great places where you get that instant air conditioning high, which we
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
talk
yeah.
about before. So in
Right.
a way, it was like a revamp, which we do sometimes with education topics, but we apologize for that. So what do you got feedback wise?
Uh, it was really interesting. Gary Bailey talked about presentations. He said, practice in front of your mirror, place notes on desk or lectern saying do not place it. Saying do nots, don't place your hands over your face, scratch your nose, ears, etc. Anything else that could be a distraction. Um, Interestingly, I believe it was Max who actually sent us a text right after saying, don't prepare, like just let it be more spontaneous.
Yes,
So
yes, a little okay, okay. Gary and
and
Max are yanking us one way from the next.
yeah, yeah. Todd Bailey, and I'm gonna let you jump off from here, but don't read the slides. The slides that people can read and let the audience know. And this is kind of what you're supposed to do as a teacher to let the students know what they're gonna be learning. You know, he said the same thing.
Yeah, like
Let
a
them know.
preview, like a what's to come, like an
Yeah,
outline almost.
yeah. Like you should learn today, this. I'm gonna show you how cool passing is. I'm assuming
Yeah.
he meant football related, or you should learn today why a certain piece of legislation, shall I say, is not so good. Um,
Oh, okay.
yeah, you,
Uh, there's only been one.
the killer bees, if you will. Okay, I mean, yeah,
Speaking of
okay,
Todd, and I think it was Todd's because Max sent us a text, but he always does his thoughts and then a separate one. And one that we really missed, and went back to the air conditioning, and this one's so true. Amusement parks, when you go to an indoor attraction at amusement parks, you're down at Disney or you're somewhere, even at Cedar Point, and it's so hot, and you go to the Hall of Presidents, right? And you walk in there and it's like ice cold, and you don't want to go waiting anymore.
yep.
You'll sit and watch the Hall of Presidents three
Oh
times
yeah,
or
it could
whatever.
be anything. Yes.
I don't know if I told this story on the show or not. Years ago, we went to Washington, D.C. And we were at not Washington, it would actually be across, in the hallowed grounds of, where in Arlington at the cemetery there. And it was, man, DC is so hot and humid. And I remember it was all four of us, and we were walking around, and they had a women's museum of soldiers that had lost their lives. It was like a
Hmm.
separate museum off to the side of all the graves there in Arlington. And Nate and Elisa wanted nothing to do with it. Like, we just want to sit on this bench. We got to rest. And Chloe, who had always been to, like, she's
Hmm.
always been this way. Like, I want to go see it. And you had to go up a little hill to get to it. And I'm like, I'll take her. So I walk up there. Mike, I think of all the places I've been in my life, this museum that's in Arlington, it's a little branch museum, probably about a couple thousand square feet. We're not talking like, a huge museum. It's just like a side part of the cemetery there. Coldest I've ever been in my life.
Yeah.
I walked in there, and Chloe was like enthralled, and I'm like, oh, honey, you go ahead and look at all the stuff you want to. I was in heaven, and
Yeah.
like so I don't know who run now. Doge may that was
It
back
was
when we went. Doge probably cut that or something. Elon Musk probably saw how much it was the electric bill was and said, hey, what are we keeping this at 63 degrees for? And it might not be the same now, but pre-Doge, which now Doge may be out. So I don't even, maybe it's back to being
right.
cold.
Is it?
Again, we're getting yanked back
Yeah.
and forth again. We're getting yanked back and forth by the Bailey. We're getting yanked back and forth by Elon Musk and Donald. Coldest I've ever been. Then we walk back. We look all refreshed. Chloe and Nate, I mean, Nate and Elise are dying.
Well, there's
And
still, yeah.
I'm not going to say anything. Elise, Chloe starts bragging about it. I thought I almost needed a plot in that cemetery. Like Elise was ready to kill me. Like, why didn't you text me or something to say come
Yeah.
up here? So coldest place ever. So
That's good. Again, I love that feeling, and I could just
yep.
envision. Yeah. So,
I'm trying to think like what at Disney because we were never really one for shows like in Disney. Like you want to ride the rides. Like I was never one for like
well,
an
listen, I'm going to go back to something real quick. Presentations, just for a
oh
second.
okay
Your storytelling. Again, it
oh
goes
okay
back. So I thought that was a
oh
well
good story.
delivered. Yeah,
Yeah,
very
well,
good
thank
story.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a little imagery with this,
Right.
obviously me being, I mean, the people that are buried there much more deserving than I
Sure.
would ever be. But, there's some, and again, it is very hot and it's a lot of walking, but it's something everyone should see.
Yeah.
Maybe don't go in July or August like I
Uh,
did.
unless they want that wonderful feeling that you got.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. So, but
Yeah.
that's DC in general. But I mean, boy, whew. You're Mike. Or do you got any other feedback? Oh, by the way,
That's
one
it.
more thing. Tom
Yeah.
Pack on the photo collage did
Oh man.
did get the photo of my Michael of the week, Michael Kovacs. I saw like
Yeah.
his old, that was in there. There's some other good stuff in there.
He had some funny stuff in there. This one had me genuinely laughing out loud. I think that's the third or fourth time he's done that. They're always pretty good, but most of the time I'm like, wow, that's interesting. This one had me laughing. So another great job by Tom,
Yep.
keeping Rocco Georgie in his place of lowest man on the pecking order. So anyway, my mic of the week. We're gonna come back to the All-Star game theme. All-Star games coming up.
Okay.
And so my mic of the week is going to be Mike Trout. I'm sorry, not Mike Trout. He's been a mic of the week. Mike
Yep.
Mussina, former
Oh, okay.
pitcher, most notably played for the Orioles, but also spent some time with the Yankees, unfortunately. But very good pitcher, and I just looked it up. Is in the Hall of Fame. So Hall of
Oh,
Famer Mike
really?
Mussina. In baseball, if you make the Hall of Fame, you've done something.
Yeah, that's no joke. Because I
Right.
went back and looked up something. We talked. I was looking. I mentioned to the Ren Dog or somebody that. Oh no, Mike Quinn sent me something about Andrew McCutcheon and I think he's had a pretty good career, a long career. He's been, at the end here, we talked about how he's been pretty good and he won an MVP and they say he's borderline, which to me is like, it's just crazy to me, but I guess
Right.
that's how tough it is. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever. I think the NFL does it right. I think it's, and I know like Major League Baseball does the Veterans Committee. That's how Dave Parker got in. Unfortunately, he knew he got in, but then he passed before the ceremony. But I think they wear it as a badge of honor it's more of a badge of
Sure.
honor of keeping people out,
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
which whatever, baseball elite,
Yep.
have at it. Good Mike of the week though. Man, Mike Messina's in the Hall of Fame,
Yeah.
really?
2019 inductee.
Oh, shocking to me. All right. Education topic this week. AP test scores have hit the market, have hit the floor. I've seen them on TikTok. Kids are doing reveals of their scores, I guess violating their own FERPA, letting their numbers out. I see these kids do these reveal. They do like my predicted score and what I got. We started when we always do like over the summer too. One of our back to school episodes, our goals for the year, right? We'll probably do that in August at
Hmm.
some point. And one of your things, I think if we went back and listened to something back in August of 24, you were very, I don't want to say nervous. I think you had some, uh, concerns about teaching this AP US government
I
class for the
did.
very
I
first
did.
time. I
Yeah.
mean, that was one of your things that you talked about. So we're not, not breaking news here. So we're just going to talk about the effect of those scores coming out. If you want to talk with what you can talk about how your year went and now that because can you see your health score report yet or no?
I can. Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
you see your class's score
Hmm.
reports, and we're not obviously going to talk about individual kids scores, but I mean, I guess just looking back on that, and then I just have some tips for kids with their AP scores to make sure we do stuff. But what do you got?
So first off, at the start of the year, I reached out to as many people as I possibly could who taught this class. The two people I want to name individually who were super, super helpful. I don't know if they're listeners, but first, Chad Putnam teaches in Taylor,
Okay.
and the he gave me a lot of pieces of advice. He is dealing in a different educational setting than we are, so to speak. He can't afford to give much homework, but he's really intense in the classroom. But one major thing he told me was, man, the College Board site is there, use it.
Hmm.
I know a lot of, and this is again, this is, I'm not saying I'm doing it right and other people are doing it wrong or vice versa. There's no right or wrong. That's another thing I've learned is there's, if you talk to 100 people, you're going to get 100 different ways. But that advice I think was super, super helpful because you just take the tests straight from their site, and these are the type of test questions that they have on the AP test. So that's one thing. So Chad, greatly appreciate that. And then first and foremost, the person that was the most helpful is a teacher from Southgate, Michelle Cieslak, who I leaned on her for the first 3 4 months of the year. Mike, we had hour-long meetings every Friday or Sunday where we would kind of go over the next couple weeks and reflect on the previous week's things, and she was so so helpful. But so that was the first thing is I reached out to people because I found out in May of last year, and I also learned that a lot of times you need a lot of time to prepare for this, and I didn't really feel like I had that, but I probably would have had, even if I'd had 6 years to prepare for it, I probably wouldn't have felt like it was enough time. So but it was remarkable in the sense that you feel what I told the kids the last couple days was you always feel this connection with kids when you coach. I feel a connection with them. One of those things where when I see them now, it's a little bit of a different feeling than when you see the average student. These are, I felt like we went through something together. It was my first year doing it. I really felt like a first year teacher through most of the school year. And so I'll just say this, when I got the scores, I could not have imagined a better year. The other part of that is a lot of times, Mike, I'm here as a coach, this. A lot of times you're only as good as your players. So I have to give a shout out to the kids. They were remarkable. It was such a good, fun time I had. The first semester was one class, the second semester was broken into two, and that it was awesome. So what a great year. It will not be able to be recreated. I'm not going to say there's going to be nothing better, but there's nothing like that first year of doing it. And so, you feel that way as a teacher overall. I'm sure you remember a lot of things about your first year teaching, but in this case, it was just a little bit different. So shout out to the kids. And yeah, I think that kind of covers everything I wanted to go through.
Well, I'm not going to get into specifics, but first of all, I want to congratulate my partner here, and he's being much too modest. A lot of times when people teach I was the AP coordinator for years, and I'm just the norm is in a year one course for a teacher is usually sort of written off. And we're not writing off the kids. I don't want to use the term as like we're writing off the
Sure.
kids, but you're sort of, it's sort of like, a rookie quarterback. Hey, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. We're not going to hold this against you unless you were Kenny Pickett, I guess. And, we understand there's going to be struggles. This is your first year, blah, blah, blah. Even if it's not your first year teaching, because the AP is a whole different ballgame. And this guy over here knocked it out of the park. I'm not going to get into specific scores because I don't have them. I'm not the coordinator anymore, but his kids did great. I can even speak specifically on one because I'm not violating FERPA because
Sure.
both my brother-in-law and sister posted that my niece Cecilia scored a 5, which is exceptional. Getting a 5, I remember back when I was in the coordinator, and if a teacher got 1 5 or 2 5s, they were spiking the football. I'm sure there were multiple 5s, and we don't even need to say if there were or weren't. But that's your first year. That's very commendable, and congratulations to my niece as well on that. Because like you said, you need the horses as well. So I just think that you deserve some props. I know you're too modest to take it, but what you did was amazing. Um, I want to, as a note to the students, make sure that if you are seniors, that you're sending these score reports. If you didn't do it back when you took the test, that you get those score reports, especially if you've earned a 4 or 5 to wherever you're going to school. And juniors or sophomores that earn these scores, make sure you do the score reports because Chloe she earned credit with her stuff, and like I said, she's on pace to graduate in what could have been 3.5 years.
Hmm.
Um, you know, make sure you are doing that. Make sure that you also your transcripts. I was just talking to Nate. These kids, when you do the dual enrollment, like this is part of like growing up. Like Carlson's going to send your transcripts. They're not sending your dual enrollment from Henry Ford. You have to go onto
Right.
the site and get that sent. And I told Nate the other day, I'm like, hey, you took 2 semesters of college classes your junior year, send those over to Michigan State. So I want to make sure that we do all that. On a side note, we knock on the SAT as our state test every once in a while. For the most part, the AP, because the students, either them or their parents, have to buy in literally
Yeah.
90 some dollars. Okay. And there is a reward, possible college credit, you know, and I realize, AP is a different standard when you're trying to test the whole school. Years ago, when in the state of Michigan, they had like honor scholarships for the state testing. There has to be something to make the SAT more buy-in if they're going to
Yeah.
keep using it as our evaluation tool. I
Right.
know this is a separate subject, but whether it be, okay, there's a $20 surcharge for every kid taking it or something, or there's, hey, if you hit this mark, you're getting $500 from the state. It's not a ton of money, but you know what? It could buy your books or whatever that first term, or it could pay for your tools if you're going to an apprentice school or something, something that make it worth their time and effort so that maybe the kids don't just show up and just, hey, hit this
Done in
stuff and get it
done
done.
in 10 minutes. Right. Right.
Yeah. But I mean, who am I? I'm just, and that was years ago. That might have been the Engler era when that was going on. I
I
don't even,
sounds about right.
or Granholm. I don't know. So, but again, congratulations to you. It has to be a great
Thank you.
feeling, especially with how you're feeling now. How many sections do you have going into this coming year?
Well, okay, so last year I had 35 students. This year, at the end of the year, it was 66.
Oh man,
Yeah,
pressure's
so
on now.
pressure is pressure is on.
66.
Yeah.
Holy cow. And again, mostly 10th and 11th or
Yeah, and that's having seniors, I only had a few this year, but just it's really interesting. You could see how come April, man, even in an AP class, they're done.
yeah,
Um,
boy. And I think it's getting, we talked about that. That's getting worse and worse every year, I feel.
it is, it is, it
Like even
is.
the best of the best are like, peace out.
Yeah. And you don't want to, I don't want to be get off my lawn guy. I don't want to, scream from the heavens here or anything like that, because there's a point of me that understands if you're a person that has everything lined up for you, I can understand human nature says this is what's going to happen at that age. It just kind of sucks in a sense that, you'd like them to finish strong, but I do understand from their point of
Yeah.
view.
It
So
just seems like it's a lot more widespread. So,
yeah.
all right. Anything else other than the
No, it's
congratulations? All right.
thank you for the words there.
No, it's well earned, well earned. All right. So overrated, underrated, as we mentioned at the very opening, tomorrow or
Yes.
yesterday, if you're listening, tomorrow for us,
Yeah.
on Thursday, the 10th, you are getting married.
Hmm.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So, suggestion from Max Bailey, we should do overrated, underrated weddings. Actually suggested it last week, and we maybe should have, so we wouldn't have repeated the heat wave, but it brought too much good air conditioning talk. All right. So, overrated weddings. What do you got? Don't offend your lovely bride.
Yeah, so this one was really easy to me. I'm gonna go with the standard wedding songs. Um, I don't want to. I mean, do we name any? There's one in particular that comes to my mind that I heard yesterday that I'm like, I don't. And overrated doesn't mean bad. Should I name one?
Say it. Yeah, name it because I want to know where you're going with this because I feel like they change over the years.
Come on, Eileen.
Oh, really? Is that a
Yeah.
standard wedding song?
To me, it has most weddings I've been to. You would know better than I would. So it's not
We haven't worked a wedding in a while. I just feel like things have changed and like stuff ebbs and flows. You know what
okay.
I mean? Like that's the one thing about weddings is that what was the standard for, geez, I'm 27 years married. It's different. But and it's funny, I know you hate it, but there's DJs that are on TikTok that they'll show like these their set list, or not really a set
Okay.
list, but their contract or their outline, and they have do not play lists and must play lists. Like the bride and groom give them this, and I always find it, and they'll reveal them, and some of them like are the guys like I'm really shocked. Some are like, oh, I always get this one. So there's I think like we talked about, the whole music world now is so. I think not to be get off my lawn guy, and I actually think it's a good thing because back when we were growing up you weren't really you really had to dig to learn new music, or you really were only into what you were into, I guess is what I'd say, like
Hmm.
because it was expensive otherwise. Like if you really wanted to get into this or that, you'd have to go invest in it and buy
Yeah.
the physical media. Whereas now, you know yes, I know. I'll just use the Beach Boys as an example. I know the Beach Boys. I listened to them back even when I was younger, and then I haven't listened to them in a while. Well, when Brian Wilson passed away, I had to go through the list. I play a Brian Wilson song at the end of the day, and then I go back and look, and I was even talking to Gina Fournier. Well, like, which song should we use? And then well, because I pay for Apple Music, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, you know what? I've missed this song. I'm going to put it on this list that I go walk for every morning. This or that. Or like, we watch or you listen to, or you go to a wedding and you pull out your phone and you hit Shazam or whatever, and
Hmm.
then you go home and you can explore that stuff. So I
Sure.
think we live in an era where music is much more individualized than, so what's
It
popular for
really
one
is.
person may not be for another.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
We still,
come on, Eileen, will not be played Thursday.
and again, here's the thing. It doesn't mean it's a bad song. I just feel like, okay, so, I have a specific taste of music and lots of music, I should say. But most of these things I recognize don't seem to fit a wedding. It's not fast enough to have fast people fast dancing, and not slow enough to slow dance. I feel like that's Come On Eileen and
Yeah.
others as well. I hate to single that one out. Doesn't mean it's bad. It's actually stuck in my head right now. But I feel like there's certain songs that can go by the wayside. But if you're telling me it ebbs and flows, maybe it's not there anymore.
And I just think it's like I remember like when the Menendez special came out on Netflix, Crowded House, Don't Dream It's Over was featured
Hmm.
in that. And like I was like sitting up here and the kids' bathrooms are over here and like made like I do the same thing. Like if I have my phone, I said I'll play music. Well, that song came on playing like on his list of what he was
Hmm.
listening to. I was taking and like if you would have like I never would have predicted my son would have listened to Crowded House,
Yeah.
hey now,
Yeah. Right.
and he did, and it's because these young kids watched on Netflix. They went to their phone, like who sings this? Because
Right.
it's not really a song that's
No,
lived for like
Crowded House is not somebody that will come up very often on anybody's
no.
playlist. So
Milli Vanilli was also featured heavily in that
really.
show. Yeah, so because I guess the Menendez brothers were fans.
Mhm.
Um,
Interesting.
my overrated, I'm gonna slice it in half. First half goes back to almost something Max Bailey we were talking about. Cake, cutting the cake, wet cake at any sort of
Hmm.
event. And we talked about this goes back to your cake pop things. Cakes are such a pain, really, when you're at a party, you want something that's easy to do. And and Joanne, bless her heart, at our place, she always cuts all the stuff. Like the cake pops are perfect, or like handheld desserts or like cupcakes. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you want to make things easy. And I do, like, and that's the thing about weddings too. Traditions change over time. A lot of times, like we're not even cutting cake anymore. We're not taking time away from this. Like, hey, it's just a dessert. Things ebb and flow. But that's a small one. Max was with that. Here's the other thing too. I think huge weddings are overrated. Back when back your first wedding and when I got married, it was all about like huge hall, right? Like
Hmm.
200 some people and
Right.
your this cousin to your second cousin, all this. And I think mainly it's economical. I mean, we're not all Jeff Bezos and can rent out what Venice or wherever they were.
Yeah.
So economically, but I think just in general, it's like we don't really need all these extended people here. Like, the bride and groom are fine, direct family, some friends. And so huge, big weddings are overrated. And I think that's a good thing. I think that's a good shift for
Okay.
society.
All right.
All right. What do you got as underrated?
So I anything in weddings that personalize and helps you get to know the people. A lot of times, because you mentioned as family, a lot of times you're invited to these things as family and you don't know the people as well, but you're just invited because you're family. So anything that's personalized in terms of like, just to give a couple examples, the vows I think are pretty cool in a sense that
Hmm.
these are made by the individuals themselves. The music, the introductory music that the couple comes out
Yeah.
to, I think is always pretty cool. So anything that just provides the people that are there some insight into the bride and the groom, I think are underrated. So that's where I'm going with this.
All right. And excellent, because my underrated branches off of one of those specifically. And a thing that's more on the newer end that wasn't around when we were getting married, signature drink, like the bride's signature drink. And have you
Okay.
been to any weddings with these?
Hmm.
My godson got married a few years ago, and like one was an espresso martini, the other one was like a take on a Manhattan, I think. And they had the normal bar, so you can go up and get a beer, or if you wanted a vodka tonic or whatever. But you could also order here's what the bride's signature drink is, here's what the groom's signature drink is, and I tried both of them because I just wanted to fairly honor the bride and groom.
How were they, and which one did you like better?
I like the I honestly don't remember. I just threw Manhattan out there. I don't remember exactly what the groom's was because I forgot it. So it was the espresso martini of the brides. that I like better because, I like coffee. The thing about those, and they're very trendy and hip right now. And if they're made well, they're good. But if they're like, you go to bars now and they have like a machine,
Hmm.
or they're just trying to get them out there because people want them. We've talked about this before. You're not going to, and this is no offense to Joe's Prime Time. I'm not going to Joe's Prime Time and ordering any type of martini. You know, I even joked when I was sitting at the bar that when I was on my when I remember I think we talked about I was home alone, so I went to Joe's and ate at the bar, and it was like only me and like somebody asked the waitress came and asked the bartender for the wine selection. And again, no offense to Joe. And I'm like, I go, if you're asking for the wine selection here, you're like in the wrong place. Like, which box do you want it out of?
Is there a wine selection there at all? That was my question. So
Yeah.
that's funny.
But that's not what those bars are designed for. So
Right.
if you
Right.
you know, and that's just what it is. So that's my underrated. It ties right into yours though. That's like supposed to demonstrate,
Yeah.
hey, here's the bride and groom. And I think it's pretty cool. And it's a nice way to try out something that, you maybe not usually try. If you don't like it, you just don't drink it, right? If it's
So
an open bar.
just coming back to you mentioned the bar there. What is the bar designed for? You said it's not designed for the wine. Is it designed for karaoke the night of
Oh man,
closeout?
I hope Joe's not a listener. We better not. He will
Oh
not be on our.
man,
Don't worry, Dr. Rice. He's not one of our sponsors.
still bitter. I'm still bitter.
Yeah. All right. Hot mic take. What do you got for this week? Your last hot mic as a single. Well, recording it single.
Correct. So I was at on the 4th, I went to the parade and then stopped in for a moment at the festival. And
Gibraltar.
yeah, correct, I'm sorry, yes. And I saw a young lady with an Oasis shirt. I
Big
don't know if
news.
I would love, yeah, do you know the news?
Well, they played right. They're back and they're
Yeah,
touring.
they're touring for the first time in 16 years.
Well, they've started the
Um,
tour.
right. And it's planned. I mean, there's
Yes.
and they're gonna make a lot of money on this. I looked up some.
Oh,
I'm a fan, a huge fan actually. And they, in fact, the young lady I saw who I'd never seen in my life, I said, "Hey, that's a cool shirt." In fact, in fact, Max Bailey went to England, and I told him if you find like I want, he said, "Well, you can order an Oasis shirt on Amazon." I said, "I could," but I wanted him to get like an authentic one
yeah.
directly from the UK. So anyway, but
Beat
so
those
at the end,
tariffs.
right, that's true. So I needed to, although one of the two countries that we've kind of
Oh, we
come
have
to,
a deal.
yeah, I think that's one of the two. So,
Good. Fish and
anyway,
chips will go down in price. And with this new tax bill, I can buy a new Bentley once it trickles down to me.
tell me when you're done. Oh, wait.
Isn't that
Um,
is a Bentley a British made or
I believe
BMW,
it
right?
is. No,
Oh,
anyway,
whatever.
back on topic here. So at the end of the show, the Gallagher brothers, who the whole problem is those two, and they're not able to get along. And
Yeah.
clearly, this is not a thing like a attention seeking thing. This is legit because they
Yeah.
have. I mean, when they formed their own bands all the way back in 2012, one of them called the other one his cover band. Again, speaking about his brother. So it got me thinking though, because at the very end of the show, the two brothers kind of had a handshake and a quick hug. um breakups, and I know we've talked about breakups before, but I sort of brought up, okay, if we could bring two people together who other like Isaiah and Jordan, they weren't ever
Yeah.
together, you know what I mean? But if you could
Yeah.
just sort of mend this time, I want to know breakups. Kobe and Shaq were able to sort of mend the fences.
Yeah.
So what other breakups though happen would you like to see um people get back together? Like to give you an example, Ice Cube left NWA. I'm just bringing that group up, the rap group from the 90s. He left, and then Dr. Dre left, and then they were planning on doing a collaborative album toward the end. Eazy-E got sick, and they weren't able to pull that off. But so the breakup never actually happened. That's an example. I want to know the breakups that happened that, if you could bring these folks back together, what might have been.
Mine is really recent, and it's because I work, it's Daryl Hall and John Oates.
Okay.
No, no, no kidding. Because I really wanted to go see them at some point, and it's like they and that one. Remember, there's lawsuit involved, and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and it's done, and and there really wasn't a lot of media about what happened. I'm sure it's money. Most of that stuff I would have to imagine. I mean, you've been playing with somebody that long,
Right.
and yeah, and sometimes Daryl Hall gets a lot more of the hype than Oates. I mean, that's just the
Right.
way it is. So I'm sure it's like a money split thing. I mean, I'm not saying for sure. I'm not don't Sue
Yeah,
me,
I
Daryl
mean,
Hall.
again, I don't want to, I'd like the listener to give us some of
Yeah,
theirs. I look for Gary Bailey's always got some good stuff with stuff like this, but VH1 did not a documentary. They did a fictional film of what John Lennon and Paul McCartney's reunion would have been. Now I
yeah,
think, sort of like had an uneasy peace by the unfortunate event that happened where John Lennon was killed. I think it was an uneasy peace, but the breakup wasn't still wasn't like mended yet, right? So that would be another example. And again, I thought VH1, it was a really cool movie that they did. They just kind of end up walking and talking. Theirs, I don't know what theirs was specifically about either, but they got really nasty with one another.
yeah. I mean, sure, and it doesn't have to be a musician either. Like you said, you
No,
mentioned athletes
yeah.
and that sort of thing. Hot mic take I have. I don't agree very much with a lot with Dave Ramsey and these like these people that like never take on debt and never you know, like eat mac and cheese and rice until
Yeah,
you have like $1 million in your 401k. And then the next thing you know, your kids are grown and you haven't gone on any trips and you're diagnosed with some awful disease. But okay, Dave, we'll do that. That's easy for you to say from your ivory tower. But one thing I do, like as it's Prime Day, so this has reason, I do think the shopping culture and the stuff culture we have is like absolutely crazy
hmm
of like buying things that, and again, I like to treat myself every once in a while with something, and but like for like because like right now, once the July 4th hit, what did I see a lot on social media? That the Halloween stuff was already hitting
Oh my God.
the stores, right? Like the stuff that's out there, like the inflate, and again, to each their own. If
Sure.
this is your thing and you don't want to travel or you don't want to, go out to eat at places or, this and that. I mean, I'm sure someone could look at me and say, hey, you go out to eat a lot, this or that. I mean,
Right.
that is sort of one of my vices. I don't cook a ton, and part of it's like schedules and like this and that, but
Sure.
part of it is like, I just don't. Um, but I think this is where like, it's like stuff builds up, and then it's and like some of the things I see, it's like, oh, this haunted mansion Disney like light up house that you could buy, it's like $69. And it, like I'm like, okay, that you put out, but again, to each their own what they want, but like you don't always need to buy more stuff. Because one
Right.
day I think about like sometimes my mom has me go over and like we're all gonna have to take care of the stuff. The kids are gonna have to take care of our stuff. Like, and what's it mostly going to be? Are people going to rent dumpsters? Like estate sales, like nobody wants to buy half this junk. I hope that's one thing that the future generation does differently than the boomers and even us. We're just as guilty. Is it's a lot less about stuff and it's more about experiences.
I agree. And Mike, just to kind of jump off of that, as a person who's moved 3 times in the last nine
Oh
years,
man.
I was at this house 4 years and it's closing. I'm closing the morning that the show is being listened to officially. So the house is no longer mine if you're listening. Um, 4 years. And I didn't put my house was not particularly full. You never know how much stuff you
Oh,
have. It's unreal.
yeah.
And it
That's
took
why
me seemingly forever. So
like
go
I
ahead.
honestly think like for the most part, like it's going to be a dumpster at most of these
Yeah.
places. And that's not
Yeah.
even like we're not talking about like a hoarding house or like I mean those obviously are.
Right.
We're talking about just a normal house with stuff.
Yeah.
And like even like the kids were asking, and we have pretty good furniture sets. Both when they were younger, we bought like a substantial, like a set, like a dresser, nightstand, like, and we already told the kids like these are going with you. Like eventually, when you have a place, like I can throw an air mattress into that bedroom or just have a single bed in there. I don't need dressers and stuff in there once they're
Right.
gone. Like
Right.
like and so eventually you start getting to like my age where they're leaving. You sort of want stuff to go out, but unfortunately, I went to my like I said, I looked at, and we've been trying to give away like a lot of my dad's tools, like we've given some to Lonnie, to my godson, because my dad had so many, like, God,
hmm
so much stuff. And it's just overwhelming for my mom but I'm like, don't worry about it. It is what it is. So that's my thing. Do what you like, do what you enjoy. I'm not being Dave Ramsey on any of you guys. But also like, just think about how much you have already. Think about what else you could do with that. Think about a nice meal you could have, where you could
Sure.
go, that
Well
sort of
said.
thing.
Yeah.
So all right. So Tigers are still red hot. Paul Skeens lost 1-0 again.
I got to tell you too, I did a little fact checking here. The Guardians had lost 10 in a row. They've won 2 in a row though as we speak, so maybe they're
Okay,
turning it
since
around.
the yes, that one Tiger loss, they were up 1-0 in the ninth,
Oh,
and then they
that was unbelievable. Unbelievable.
maybe me calling them the Indians is what snapped them out of it. Maybe
Yeah.
it snapped the streak out of it. So yeah, but Tiger's playing well. But again, here's my thing. I see this all the time, and I've said this with football. I'll say I would rather have zero Pirates make, and this is impossible because baseball's soft and they make it someone come from every team, and that's fact. Like you
Mhm.
shouldn't like who's coming from Colorado, the Bat Boy, like
Right.
because they're god awful.
Awful.
Um, I would rather have zero Pirates make the All-Star game and have them win the NL Central 100 out of 100 times.
Hmm.
100 out of 100 times. And if you feel, because like people are like, oh, how the Tigers, why do they only have this many starting? Like, who cares? I'd rather them all be home, rest, and come back for the second half. Every time, every
Yeah.
time. Same thing with like, it was always TJ Watt, Defensive Player of the Year. I'd rather have them win a playoff game than fine. If somebody else wants to win that, go ahead. Who cares? Maybe
Right.
back in the day, I think like when Miguel Cabrera won the Triple Crown and that sort of thing. I mean, there's a little, but
That was
all of those awards, I don't care.
right.
Or All
It's a very good
Stars.
one you mentioned there, but you're right. You're absolutely right. I'm going to do something here in a couple of weeks with Mount Rushmore of athletes. We'll talk about this later, but you're right. I'm talking about the guys that didn't win, the guys that did win, stuff like that. I think they all would trade any of those individual awards for team glory.
And then I did send I had to look it up because I don't send fake information. Pirate prospect Iverson Allen,
Iverson Allen.
my
That
new
had me laughing.
my new second favorite Pirate.
Yeah.
Wonder if he practice. Does
Yeah.
he?
I'm sure he does.
All right. Well, hey, again, congratulations on the AP test. Well done. You deserve a well round of applause. Don't fans make sure you comment stuff because he's well deserved of it. This is a great week for Mike, obviously, but that he's well deserved. He does a great job with those kids. And congratulations on the wedding. I'll be there tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll see you there.
All right, everybody, have a great week, and we will see you next week.